Alright everybody, we got another commander here for you. One of my favorites, and probably one of my favorite villains from the whole Final Fantasy franchise, Golbez Crystal Collector. Blue-black for a 1/4, legendary creature, human wizard. Whenever an artifact we control enters, surveil 1. An incredibly powerful line of text, deceptively powerful. And at the beginning of our end step, if we control 4 or more artifacts, we get to return target creature card from our graveyard to our hand. But if we control 8 or more, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power. That's his, how he collects and, goes around the map to collect these crystals. And he's building an airship army and all that jazz. Very machinist heavy with Golbez. And casting Meteor when we bring stuff back to, boom, blast our opponents for a big bunch of damage. So how are we going to do that? Well, first let's talk about how we're going to draw through and keep our game plan going. We got Baleful Strix in our deck. Is a blue-black for a 1/1 flying death touch. Excellent deterrent or attacker. And whenever it enters the battlefield, we draw a card. So that's a really nice thing. We can keep bringing back. The 1 damage to ping is not so good, but if we really need that draw... also, if we have less artifacts on the board, this is an easy thing to put back in our hand and play for 2 mana. We also have Disinformation Campaign, which is an all-star in this deck because of our commander's first line of text. Disinformation Campaign is colorless and a blue-black for an enchantment. When it enters, you draw a card, and each opponent discards a card. And whenever you surveil, you may return Disinformation Campaign to its owner's hand. So this deck is going to do a pretty good job of keeping our opponent's hands hopefully pretty empty. We also have Matsalandi, the Great Door. Matsalantli, my bad. The Great Door, 3 colorless legendary artifact. For tap, draw a card, discard a card. 4 mana to tap and transform Matsalantli, the Great Door into the core legendary land. Fathomless Descent, tap, add X mana of any 1 color or X's number of permanent cards in your graveyard. A very good piece of ramp for the deck. And this is also the other half of it, just a very good loot piece for the deck since we like rooting around in our graveyard. We also have Shimmer Dragon, which is 4 colorless and double blue for a 5/6 flyer, just a solid body on its own. Plus, if we control 4 or more artifacts, which we're likely able to do, it is hexproof, also beneficial, and we can tap 2 untapped artifacts we control to draw a card. Excellent little advantage. That's a activated ability with at instant speeds. We do it at the end of other people's turns. Very good for us. We also have the Everflowing Well. 2 colorless and a blue for a legendary artifact. When the Everflowing Well enters the battlefield, we mill 2 cards. Then we draw 2 cards. But if we have 8 or more permanents in our graveyard, transform the Everflowing Well into the Myriad Pools. Legendary artifact land, very important to keep our artifact count up. It adds a blue, which is great, and whenever we cast a permanent spell using mana produced by this Myriad Pools, up to 1 other target permanent we control becomes a copy of that spell until end of turn. Really excellent, some of the big scary creatures we got, and we're producing lots of tiny Thopters and other meaningless tokens as well. Plus, some of our other smaller creatures that have already entered the battlefield and given us value, Baleful Strix for instance, we can make into a big beater and bang in. Speaking of making some tokens, we're rocking Thopter Spy Network, 2 colorless and double blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of our upkeep, if we control an artifact, we get a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. And whenever 1 or more artifact creatures we control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Excellent, excellent enchantment for us. And we're also using Valkyrie Aerial Unit, 5 colorless and double blue. I know 7 mana sounds like a lot, but it has artifact affinity. And it has flying, so it's a flying 5/4 body, and when it enters, surveil 2. Excellent ability for this deck to be dumping some of our big hitters into the yard to get back with our commander's ability. Now to ramp into some of our pieces, we're running things like Cargo Ship, which is colorless and blue for a 2/3 flying vigilance. It adds a colorless to our mana pool. It can only be used to activate or go to artifact spells or activate artifact ability sources, which is fine by us. We're going to be running the Crystal Skull, similar Golbez loves shiny things. Isu Spyglass, double colorless, double blue for a legendary artifact. We may look at the top card of our library at any time. Excellent fun thing to do. And we may play historic lands and cast historic spells from the top of our library. Taps for blue. Very cool piece for this deck. Now another interesting piece of like ramp that we have to do, and that's what the next package we're going to get into to help produce the mana and the resources to do our things, is we have Sojourner's Companion, which is 7 colorless for a 4/4. It has affinity for artifacts, so it could be free, which is excellent. But it also has artifact land cycling for 2, and we have several of those that we'll get towards the end of the list to let you know the artifact lands that we have that we can fetch. Now, some of the crystals, these are from the game that Golbez goes around the map and collects. We have the Darkness Crystal, double colorless, double black for a legendary artifact. Our black spells now cost 1 less to cast, which is excellent. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, it is instead exiled and we gain 2 life. An excellent Leyline of the Void effect to stop graveyard decks from our opponents. And we have 4 colorless and double black to tap it. And we can put target creature card exiled with a Darkness Crystal onto the battlefield tapped under our control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. So not only does this hate on our opponent's graveyards, it is also a creature factory for us. We also have the Water Crystal. 2 colorless, double blue. Blue spells now cost 1 less to cast. If an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill that many cards +4 instead. We're not doing a whole lot of milling in this deck. This is largely for flavor. So this is a flexible slot. If you wanted to build this deck for yourself or do something else with it. 4 colors and double blue to tap. Each opponent mills cards equal to the number of cards in my hand, which is great. I don't think we're going to have a crap load of cards in our hand at all given times. So this isn't, again, the best. I want to highlight that. This is highly a flavor pick, but I still love it. We have, as our last piece of like ramp, we have the Troll of Khazad-dûm. 5 colors and a black for a 6/5. It cannot be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, which is pretty devastating. But it has swamp cycling for 1, so we can toss this guy into our yard, get him back later with Golbez, and hit the table for 6, which is very good, and having a very difficult to block creature. Now to generate some more of our damage, some of our big power creatures that we can get back with our commander and do some huge meteor damage to the table, we have Ancient Stone Idol, 10 colorless for a 12/12 with flash. It also costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature, not attacking us. So if there's something else going on the other side of the table, we can still get a huge 12/12 for cheap or free. It has Trample. When Ancient Stone Idol dies, create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with Trample. So it's still a big blocker and threat, even after it's already been taken out, and we can get it back with our commander, so we'll keep getting like these 6/12 creatures. We also have Broodstar, which is 8 colorless and double blue for a star. It has affinity for artifacts, it's a flyer, and its power and toughness are equal to the artifacts we control. Very good. We also have Consuming Aberration, 3 colorless and a blue-black for star. Its power and toughness is each equal to the number of cards in opponents' graveyards, which we're not doing a lot of milling, like I said, ourselves on. However, whenever we cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a land, then all of those cards get put into the graveyard. This is not milling. That is important to distinguish. So this does not affect our Water Crystal, which is why I want to emphasize again that is a flavor pick for my deck. This is largely like my Golbez deck that I love using. So this does not work with it, but this creature alone is very good for the deck because it can be a very huge body to bring back with our commander to hit the table with, and it can help make itself bigger in the long run. We also have Darksteel Juggernaut, 5 colorless for star. It's an indestructible creature, and its power and toughness equal to the number of artifacts you control. There's a theme with our big guys there. And it attacks each combat if able. We have Filigree Attendant, double colorless, double blue, star 3. Power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, and it's a flyer. Very good. We have Master of Ethereum, 2 colorless and a blue, star. Power and toughness each equal to the number of artifacts you control, and it gives our other artifact creatures +1/+1. A nice little bonus. We have Metalwork Colossus in here, 11 colorless for a 10/10. It does cost X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of non-creature artifacts we control, which is very nice. and we can sack 2 artifacts to return Metalwork Colossus from our graveyard to our hand. So we can make this kind of an engine on its own to defend ourselves because of our artifacts that we already have if our commander's been taken out a bunch. But this is largely going to be a big 10-10 threat to pull out of our yard with Golbez. And another big on theme, though Traxos is great for this deck for other things, but I wanted to include it because of the screen grab, which I'm with Pleasant Kenobi and a bunch of other creators. I'm not the biggest fan of these screenshot arts, but I wanted to put the one in here that's related to, the guy. Because, he awakens the Giant of Babel, which is Traxos Scourge of Krug. So it's 4 colorless for a 7/7 trampler. When Giant of Babel enters, it enters tapped and doesn't untap during your untap step. But whenever you cast a historic spell, you have to untap the Giant of Babel. And historic spells are anything legendary artifacts. I think that's it. Legendary spells and artifact spells. And sagas. All sagas are also historic. We also have Void Beckoner, 6 colorless and double black for an 8/8 with Death Touch. It also has Cycling, 2 colorless and a black to discard it and draw a card. When we cycle Void Beckoner, we can put a Death Touch counter on a creature we control, which is very nice. This also puts an 8/8 in our yard to get back with Golbez to shoot the table with. And we also have Souls of the Lost, colorless and black for star +1. And as an additional cost to cast a spell, you must discard a card or sack a permanent. And it has Fathomless Descent, which is Souls of the Lost power is equal to the number of permanent cards, and its toughness is equal to that number, +1. So it's another big beater to get back with our commander to shoot the table with. Now, in addition to those huge creatures that are part of our win condition, both the fact that they're very powerful, like literally they're high power creatures, and that our commander utilizes that as burn damage with his effect, we also have a couple cards in here that just help end games and do big damage on their own. We have Kappa Cannoneer, which is 5 colorless and a blue. It also has Improvise, though, so our artifacts can help cast this spell. It's a 4/4 with Ward 4, and Wizards has basically been known to say, anything Ward 3 or more is functionally hexproof, so that's really good. Whenever this creature or another artifact creature you control enters, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and it cannot be blocked this turn. And we have so many things that just trigger Thopters generating. It's very nice. We also have Haunt the Network, which is 3 colorless and blue-black for a sorcery. We choose target opponent, so that's important. If they're hexproof, that matters. But we create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying, so this generates a couple of bodies for us already. And then the chosen player loses X life, and we gain X life, versus the number of artifacts we control. So this could totally be a kill shot on one of the other opponents at the table. Now to keep us protected and deal with some of our opponent's things, we already talked about our removal package. We have Aetherize, which is 3 colorless and a blue. Return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. This is, I think, an important thing to note. It's a pretty hilarious combo to drop the Ancient Stone Idol for free and then Aetherize the board. That'd be pretty funny. Just saying, that's a thing you could do in this deck. We also have Diversion Unit, colorless and blue for a 2/1. And it's a little robot that flies, but you can pay blue and sack it. Important to know that we can also just keep getting this guy back with our commander's ability and either put it back on the battlefield for cheap, or we'll just hit the battlefield and burn everybody for 2. Most importantly, after we sack it, we can counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 3. An inclusion that I'm pretty chuffed about, I'm not going to lie. It just brings me joy to put Meteor Golem in the commander deck. One, in general, but also into Golbez's deck, where he famously casts Meteor. It's a 7 colorless for a 3/3, which, that's whatever. But as everyone knows, Meteor Golem is pretty famous for just entering the battlefield, destroying a non-land permanent and opponent controls. And then, of course, we have ways to just keep getting him back and keep blowing stuff up. Now, and on that note, we also have Noxious Gearhulk, which is 4 colorless and double black for a 5/4 with Menace. When this creature enters, you may destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equal to its toughness. Very good removal for us to have on hand, and it helps give us some life to stay in the game. Another good piece of removal we have is Phyrexian Scriptures. Double colorless, double black. Put a +1/+1 counter up to one other target creature. That creature becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. We usually want to target our commander, because it would be really sick for him to count for all of his own stuff. And then we destroy all non-artifact creatures. It also protects him from that clause. And then, as an added gesture, this just tosses all of our opponent's graveyards. I know that's a non-bow with our Consuming Aberration. That is okay. We just have to accept that. An additional little piece of tech we have in here, because we are running so many artifacts, we're running Cranial Plating, which is 2 colorless. Equip creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Double black to attach Cranial Plating to target creature we control. To do that at instant speed, or you can equip for 1. So this is a really good spell since we are making so many artifacts. We have a bunch of artifact lands at our disposal. We can slap this onto our commander, for instance, to maybe get into like an open board, or any one of our other big creatures to make them even bigger and bang in for more damage. We also have Efficient Construction, which is 3 colors and a blue. This is a small part of our dedicated token package. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you get a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Very good. And on that same note, we have Psy Master Thopterist, 2 colorless and a blue for a 1/4. Whenever we cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. But we can also pay colorless and a blue and sack 2 artifacts to draw a card. That's not as great, but the fact that he doesn't have to tap for it, so much as mana and artifacts as we have, we can draw cards. Very good in a pinch. An additional piece of fun tech I have in the deck, because it's an artifact for our things, it counts for a bunch of stuff, but it also gives us a whole bunch of freedom the longer it's on the board, is Shimmermere, 3 colorless for a 2/2 with flash, and then we may cast artifact spells as though they had flash. Very handy. Now let's talk about our artifact land package, so you just see what those are and see what we can look up and find with our Sojourner. We're running Darksteel Citadel, artifact land, indestructible, adds colorless. We're running Mistvault Bridge, artifact land, enters battlefield tapped, it's indestructible, adds blue or black. We have Power Depot, it enters tapped, adds colorless, but we can also add 1 mana of any color. It can only be used to cast artifact spells or activate artifact abilities, and it has modular 1, so it enters with a +1/+1 counter, and if it gets destroyed, that counter can get put on a creature. It's probably not going to happen, but hey, it's there. We have Scene of the Crime, artifact land Clue. It enters tapped, adds colorless. We can tap an untapped creature we control to add 1 mana of any color, and tap this land. Or we can pay 2 mana to sack Scene of the Crime to draw a card. And we have Seed of the Synod, which is the blue artifact land, taps for blue. That's it. We're also running Treasure Vault. It's an artifact land, add colorless, pay double X to tap it and sack Treasure Vault, create X treasure tokens. Nice little ramp piece. Also to generate a bunch of artifact tokens for us to do various things that we can do with artifact tokens and have fun with that. And finally, we have the Vault of Whispers, our artifact land. It taps for black. It's the Swamp artifact land. Very good. And that's it. We have a whole bunch of ways to make sure Golbez Crystal Collector is either, at worst, always at least getting something back to our hand. Most of the time. There's generally, with all the artifacts, and especially artifacts in our mana base that this deck has, you're probably not going to be hurting for this ability to trigger, which is awesome. It's just, he's one of my favorite villains, even though he's not really a villain. Like, if you played Final Fantasy IV, like, Golbez was taken advantage of, he feels bad about it. It's a very, I love that whole game so very much. It's very core to me as a child. And it was just a pleasure to show you guys my little deck that I made with my guy. I love him lots. Hope you guys enjoy it too. And thank you for watching. Please do the things that appease the algorithm, like, comment, subscribe. And outside of that, be excellent to one another and have a good one.